The following program is brought to you by the League of Women Voters, Oakland area. The League of Women Voters is a national, nonpartisan organization established to encourage citizen participation in government. It never supports or opposes any political party or candidate. The statements and opinions of the candidates are presented in the interest of public service and in no way are to be construed as endorsement thereof by the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters takes no responsibility for any of the views or facts stated by the candidates.
Welcome to this forum for the State House District 20 and West Bloomfield Township Supervisor and Trustee. Today is July 2nd, 2024. The first portion of this forum features 3 candidates who have filed for the position of representative in the Michigan State House District 20. Vote for not more than 1 for a 2-year term. The second portion of this forum features 2 candidates who have filed for a position as West Bloomfield Township Supervisor. Vote for not more than 1 for a 4-year term. The third portion of this forum features candidates who have filed for a position as West Bloomfield Township Trustee. Vote for not more than 4 for a 4-year term. The format is as follows. Candidates will be seated in alphabetical order. The State House forum takes place from 7 p.m. until 7:30 p.m. After a short break, the supervisor forum takes place from 7:35 p.m. until 8 p.m. After a short break, the trustee forum takes place from 8:05 p.m. until 8:45 p.m. Sponsor of this forum is the League of Women Voters, Oakland area. I am Rosemary Allen, a member of the League of Women Voters. I am not a resident of this district. The League of Women Voters is a trusted national nonpartisan political organization. Our members do the hands-on work to safeguard democracy. While we never endorse a candidate, we are directly involved in shaping the important issues that keep our community strong. As a League of Women Voters member, I have the opportunity to contribute in a leadership role, such as this one, that has great impact on local, state, and even national issues. So if you are interested in learning about how you can make a similar impact, I would encourage you to pick up some of the League's information available here tonight or visit our website at lwvoa.org. The League of Women Voters does not endorse any candidate or political party. Views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates, and the sponsor takes no responsibility. The format for this forum has been established by the League of Women Voters. We ask that the audience remain silent during the forum. Please turn off all cell phones. We ask that candidates answer the questions with their views only and not interrupt another candidate. The questions are asked to all candidates and do not single out any one candidate. All candidates will be answering questions submitted by the audience and screened for duplication and appropriateness by Deborah Ross, Kath Masner, and Christine Allen. Our 3 pages are Bonnie Gutoff, Mike Allen, and Linda Fiskus. They will be circulating with paper and pencils for your questions. Please turn your questions into the pages. The format is as follows. All candidates will be given 1 minute for opening statements in alphabetical order. Closing statements will be 1 minute in reverse order. Candidates will have 1 minute to answer each question in rotation unless extended by the moderator. All candidates will be allowed equal time to answer questions. Our timer is Brenda Fries. The candidates for Michigan District 20 representatives are Noah Arbit, Herman Barbay, and not in attendance, Brendan Cowley. So we will begin the 1-minute opening statements with Mr. Noah Arbit, followed by Mr. Herman Barbay. You may begin. Thank you.
I'm State Representative Noah Arbit, and I ran for this office because I was sick and tired of our community being an afterthought in the policymaking conversations in Lansing. And I believe fiercely that we need to build a Michigan where every person has a chance to thrive, no matter where you come from, the color of your skin, the zip code of your home, how you worship, or who you love. And in my first term, I've been able to deliver on significant priorities of our community to help deliver on that vision, whether it's taking on rising hate crimes, addressing the issue of rising gun violence, protecting our rights and freedoms, including the right to reproductive care and the right for LGBTQ plus Michiganders to live without discrimination, or expanding access to vital mental health care for kids, seniors, and everyone in between. And I will continue to wake up every day and work my heart out for this community that I love, the community that raised me, shaped me, and made me who I am. I thank you for the honor of serving as your state representative, and I look forward to getting out in our community and earning your vote once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barbay.
Right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Herman Barbay, and I am running to be your new state representative here in House District 20. More about me and my campaign, I would like to encourage you to visit my website, which is herman2024.com. That is spelled HERMON 2024.com. I have spent the last 20 years working in the private sector in real estate and home finance. The last 10 years, I've been a solution consultant and self-employment specialist, working with my clients at the grassroots level to help them secure the dream of homeownership and the American dream. Over the last few years, however, that dream's been turning into a nightmare with higher inflation, corrupt government, dark money deals, and more. And I am stepping out and stepping in for we the people, for the grassroots. I am more so for principles and policy and truth than I am for partisan politics, backroom deals, and lobbyists. There are no strings on me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we will now begin the question segment of our forum. Most questions will have a 1-minute time limit. We will begin with Mr. Noah Arbit. And the question is, District 20 is quite diverse. How do you plan on building consensus?
Absolutely. I think it's incredibly important to represent all diverse communities in our district. You know, I think one of the issues that I have really taken a leadership position on is rising hate crimes in Michigan, protecting all of our communities from targeted violence. And I was proud, my first bill signed into law was a bill that protects houses of worship in our communities from targeted assault and vandalism. And, you know, on this part of building consensus, you know, I think it can be done. I think, you know, one of the issues that I've also been leading on as vice chair of the Behavioral Health Subcommittee in the State House is mental health. And I know that that's something, you know, even when everything else, people are, you know, bickering and fighting with each other, Republicans and Democrats, expanding access to vital mental health care is a goal that we share. And we've seen some major progress on that this term, and I'm very proud to have helped lead on a lot of that legislation.
All right. Okay. Please repeat the question.
I certainly can. The question is, District 20 is quite diverse. How do you plan on building consensus?
So I do believe that justice is blind. I believe the rule of law is written in black and white, regardless of the color of your skin, the creed that you follow, or what you may or may not identify as. But there's also ultimate truth as well. I am what you might also consider a minority. I'm not here to play a minority card. My dad came here legally from the country of Peru in South America, and he worked his butt off. And he didn't ask for a hand up, and he didn't ask for the government to help him, nor am I asking for the government either. I am looking to have blind justice, rule of law that is equal under the eyes of God Almighty in this realm that we call Earth, in this great country that we love, under the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question, Mr. Arbit. What steps will you take to work across the aisles in the House?
I've gotten to know a lot of my colleagues in the State House, and I think one of the things about being in a chamber, if folks don't know, the State House is divided, 56 Democrats and 54 Republicans, and that's a very narrow majority for the Democrats. And so a lot of the work that we have done, I would say the majority of the work that we've done has been bipartisan. The majority of bills that have been passed have been bipartisan. And so it can be difficult at times, but if you look narrowly at issues that you can find common ground on, on the Outdoor Recreation and Environment Natural Resources Committee, an issue that is obviously incredibly important to our community with our lakes here in the greater West Bloomfield area. We've actually been able to find common ground on protecting inland lakes with my colleague from downriver and a number of other colleagues that we've been working with on that issue and a number of other issues. So I think it just starts with having conversations, building trust as time goes on, and knowing that you don't always have to agree on everything to find discrete common ground.
Thank you. Do you need the question repeated?
Yeah, thank you.
Certainly. What steps will you take to work across the aisles in the House?
Yes. So the business of the government is to learn how to get along so we can work better for we the people. And at the same time, there are certain principles and procedures that should not be omitted, bypassed, and it's ultimately paramount to the success of our state, whether that is election integrity or passing a budget. I can tell you that what just happened this past week was atrocious. What happened is that our $83 billion budget was passed in less than 24 hours. I work in real estate. Did you not know that you cannot buy a house until your final numbers have been seasoned for 3 business days? So there's certain things that we need to do with consensus, yes, but at the same time, procedure needs to look out for the people and for your tax dollars and my tax dollars and your children and my children. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, Mr. Arbit. What is your view on gun control and Michigan current laws?
Well, I was very proud that this majority has worked to address gun violence, especially after the 2 mass shootings that occurred in the state of Michigan, the first at Oxford and the second at MSU. We passed universal background checks, red flag laws, and safe storage requirements, the first gun violence prevention measures in decades in the state of Michigan. And it's my view that those policies don't go nearly far enough to addressing the issue. And the fact is, we know that gun violence has many authors, has many causes, and people don't generally just wake up and commit crimes. Poverty, unemployment, mental health, trauma, abuse, all of those things that create the circumstances for people to commit violence, we have to address them. Each of these interventions for gun violence prevention are like layers of Swiss cheese. We have to layer the interventions and create a patchwork, a network of policies in order to interrupt gun violence, and that's the work that I look forward to continue to do in the State House. We have to push forward.
Okay.
Thank you. Did you need the question repeated?
Thank you.
What is your view on gun control and Michigan current laws?
So the Second Amendment says the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. And at the same time, we are living in more of a dangerous world, obviously. So there are concessions that are being made. And it kind of feels like, to some degree, the right to be infringed is being infringed upon, to be very blunt. Common sense is not so common these days. And I can tell you, it's not going to be up to the Michigan State Legislature to keep you and your family safe. That is your responsibility. What stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, Mr. Barbet. What is your stand on voter identification requirements?
This will be fun. So I worked in 2020 and 2022 as a poll watcher and then separately as a poll worker. I can tell you that we've got a lot of problems, and this was particular to Wayne County and the Absentee Voter Counting Board, but we need to massively overhaul and correct the election system and the security of the vote and the security and the chain of custody of every single vote, making sure that every single vote is a legal vote and not an illegal ballot that has no business being there whatsoever. There is going to come a point, when, if this does continue, where we will not be able to know or trust if our elected officials really are our elected officials, not just at the top of the ballot. What about the middle? What about the ground level, the grassroots level? Free and fair elections, yes, but we need to actually have security, correct security measures in place by people that will uphold the rule of law righteously.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Arbit. What is your stand on voter identification requirements?
Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to reassure you, I am your elected official. I am your state representative, and I was duly elected in the 20th district 2 years ago. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, this is a red herring. Michigan law requires voter identification for voters. And the fact is that when some folks lose an election, they claim voter fraud and foul, and they blame the process and procedures. But the fact is, cases of voter fraud in the state of Michigan and across the country are 0 to 0. There is no systemic issue with regard to. I'm sorry, moderator.
I'm sorry, please, let's be very quiet while they are answering the questions. Thank you, audience.
Thank you. And with regard to the rule of law, there are indeed significant and severe threats to the rule of law right now in our country. And I think it's incredibly important that we do elect officials at every level of the ballot that are going to defend our democracy, defend the rule of law against any partisan attempts to undermine it. And the fact is that is without fear or favor. If there are Democrats who are doing things that are illegal, I will be the first person calling them out. The fact is the rule of law should be equal in this country.
Thank you. Our next question will go back to you, Mr. Arbit. Inflation has hit new record highs. If elected as a state representative, what steps or actions will you take to address this issue that are affecting all of the citizens you are representing?
Yeah, I think this is incredibly an important issue, and I think one that's incredibly important to provide context for. During the COVID crisis, when you get a rug in the mail, it comes all rolled up, right? And it takes a while for it to flatten out. During the COVID crisis, we rolled up our economy for a year and a half, close to 2 years. And it's taken a while for it to come back, to flatten out. And that's the reality with inflation and significant price rises over the past couple of years. This is not a Michigan issue. This is not an America issue. This is a global issue. And so for those who want to blame the administration, the federal administration, the Biden administration for inflation, then is the Biden administration also responsible for inflation in Nigeria, in Poland, in Brazil, in India, in China? Because that's what we're seeing across the globe. And the fact is, as a state representative, we have worked to lower costs for families, passing the Working Families Tax Credit, repealing the retirement tax on seniors, working to do everything we can to put money back in people's pockets, and that's what I'll continue to do.
Okay.
Thank you. I will read the question again.
Okay.
For you, Mr. Bombay. Inflation has hit new record highs. If elected as a state representative, what steps or actions will you take to address this issue that are affecting all of the citizens you are representing? So
the state legislature can do a few things to help the grassroots. Lower taxes is one. Helping small businesses is another. That is the platform that I embrace. Inflation will hit everyone, some worse than others. That is personal responsibility. You and I have a personal responsibility for you've got yours, family, I've got mine, to find out what do you do in an inflationary environment? How do you reallocate your assets, your investments? Because you're going to have to weather this storm a while longer. There is light coming on the other side of the storm, but the storm's not over yet. And yes, it probably will be getting a lot worse here over the next few months. One thing I'd love to see the state legislature do, whether we're in an inflationary environment or not, is to help improve the tax situation, lower taxes, rein in big government spending, reduce the budget, reduce the taxes. Can we please have a ballot initiative to lower taxes just once? not raise them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barbe, this will be your question, and since it is a compounded question, we're going to give you a few extra seconds, so like a minute and a half for your response. The question is, Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard has been warning our community for months about Chilean gangs that are breaking into homes in our county, and specifically this district. These gangs have been coming across our southern border to get here. Please share your convictions on the following 3 items. Number 1, the state of the border. Number 2, illegal immigrants. And 3, if elected as our state representative, what actions will you take to align with your convictions?
Yes. So number 1, the border is everywhere. Number 2, those Chilean gangs were somehow here legally. I was at the town forum with Sheriff Mike Bouchard just a couple months ago. He was sharing the facts, and you can watch that online, I do believe. What we do need is we have to be vigilant citizens. We cannot rely upon the sheriff's office, local police to save us. But yes, if you do see something, you need to say something and report it to the proper authorities. The strongest offense will be a strong defense, yes. But you also have to make sure in the state legislature that there is repercussions. If you don't want an enemy here and now, illegally, that could threaten you with your life and take your livelihood and your family away from you, well, guess what? You got to be on the offense there. The best thing, and thank God these Chilean gangs are not violent. At least we have not seen that thus far. Nonetheless, you need to protect yourself. The state legislature needs to have teeth. The state legislature needs to give the sheriff's office allocations and appropriations to give them some teeth. It'd be awesome to see Oakland County Sheriff's Department and the police departments across the state of Michigan to get some new equipment, get some better funding for them. Because ultimately, yes, they are there to serve and protect you and me. And they are there to protect us against any invaders, foreign or domestic. And ultimately, we need to help them, come alongside them, support them. And thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Arbit, would you like for me to repeat the question?
No, thanks. I got it.
Okay, thank you.
This is, I think, a state legislator's favorite question because it has nothing to do with the job that I hold or the job that he's running for. We have no province, no authority, no responsibility over the federal issue of immigration or the border. And so we get to talk about all about how Congress hasn't done its job. And that's the reality, is that for decades, bipartisan failure in Congress, Democrats and Republicans have utterly failed to enact any meaningful immigration reform, have starved the border of the necessary resources in terms of administrative judges at the border to process asylum claims, as well as cases of refugee claims, as well as the normal immigration process, expanding the H-1B visas, doing all of the work that we can to make sure, Michigan has a talent issue, right? And if we want to make sure that we are competitive, we've got a brain drain issue. I've got 2 brothers, both of whom have moved out of state, as many of my friends have from high school and from college. If we want to maintain our competitiveness as an economy, then we need to bring more skilled labor into the state of Michigan. We need to be able to attract people to Michigan. And on the issue of crime, I would just say I am not more afraid of an immigrant committing a crime against me than I am of someone who is from the United States, born and bred, of committing a crime. And that's the fact of why this question is such a red herring, because we need to be working on public safety, investing in public safety, which the Democratic Party has done in this majority to make sure that all of our communities are safe.
All right, thank you. Your question, Mr. Arbit. What's your position on separation, church and state, and prayer in the classroom?
Well, I vehemently oppose prayer in classrooms, and I vehemently support the separation of church and state, and I am deeply, deeply disturbed, distressed, and quite terrified, actually, as a matter of fact, of the growing movement in this country perpetuated by the radical right about basically taking a fundamentalist version of Christianity and mapping it onto all of our laws as the foundation of all of our laws. Just look at this Supreme Court. That is their mission, to create a theocracy in this country. And you know what? This community, the greater West Bloomfield community, is an incredibly diverse community in terms of religion and in terms of faith. We have more synagogues in this town, in West Bloomfield, than anywhere else in this state. And we have a mosque, too, in the Unity Center in this district. And the fact is, I don't know where I fit into that vision of this country. I don't know where so many people in this community fit into that vision. And so I will be a relentless advocate standing up against the proliferation of church and state merging in our state legislature, and I will continue to do that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Barbet, do you need me
Sure.
to repeat the question? Okay, the question is, what's your position on separating church and state and prayer in the classroom?
Yes, so the constitutional ruling allows for students to leave the public schools. This is actually something that's come up now more and more. It's gaining traction across the country. Churches have been involved, faith groups, mosques, synagogues, whatever your persuasion is, okay? Under school terms, they can leave the premises and they can have a Bible study or a Torah study or whatever you like in the middle of the day, and it's perfectly constitutionally legal, okay? I can tell you, and I'm going to quote George Washington on this, the very first day that he was sworn into office was April 30th, 1789. And he said that the propitious smiles of heaven can never be expected on a nation that disregards the eternal rules of order and right, which heaven itself has ordained. That doesn't mean that the Bible has to be taught in schools, but that doesn't mean that the kids can't pray in school or have a Bible study in school or on school time.
All right, thank you. Mr. Barbet, your question is, what is your stance on a woman's right to choose?
Yes, so a woman's right to choose starts with the woman's life in the womb, in my opinion, which is where life is. This is a sensitive issue for many Americans, for many women. And at the same time, it's an even more sensitive issue for the unborn beating heart, the unborn woman that is our future, our children's children. I would love to see, and this is not an abortion election, by the way, but I am pro-life and I will stand by my convictions. I would absolutely love to see Michigan become a pro-life state. And that does not necessarily mean you take away the woman's right to choose, but you know what? Why can't we come along our women and help give them better options and benefits if needed to affirm life with adoption or whatever the case may be? There's no reason pro-choice has to be pro-death. It can be pro-life here in Michigan. So let's change that. Thank you.
Thank you. Audience, please remain quiet. Do you need me to repeat the question? Okay.
Not on my watch. I am pro-choice, and I believe fiercely that every woman has the right to be able to choose the timing and manner in which to expand her family. And I proudly voted not only to repeal the 1931 snapback abortion ban, but also co-sponsored the Reproductive Health Act. I believe that the fact is that the leading indicator for democratic backsliding in countries around the world, Brazil, the Philippines, Poland, historically, in the past couple of years, has been erosion in abortion rights for women. And so I'm incredibly proud that the state of Michigan has been a national leader in making sure that every woman has the right to reproductive freedom, not only enshrined in our Constitution, but enshrined into law. And so I will be a relentless, fearless backstop in making sure that not only do we have access to reproductive and sexual health care in this state, but also access to mifepristone, access to contraception, because family planning is a critical part of making sure that everyone is able to contribute to our economy. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Arbit, your question is, how do you feel about protecting our marshes, forests, and natural areas?
Thank you. Well, as a state representative for the Greater West Bloomfield area, as well as a member of the House Committee on Natural Resources, Environment, and Outdoor Recreation, this portfolio of environmental conservation is one that I take very seriously on behalf of our community. And so I very much support anything that we can do in the state as well as on the local level to protect our area's natural inheritance in the Greater West Bloomfield and Commerce area. And I know that of a particular concern to our community is our inland lakes. And so we've been having conversations about, the pluses and minuses of the wake boat issue and, wanting to prevent degradation in the lake bottoms and to make sure that this community is one that people continue to want to move to and want to live in and work in. And so I obviously support conservation and support addressing climate change, which is why we passed the Michigan My Healthy Climate Plan to make sure that we are carbon neutral by 2030. Thank you.
Thank you.
2040,
Mr. Bombay?
sorry.
Sure.
Okay. You want me to?
Sure.
Okay. How do you feel about protecting our marshes, forests, and natural areas?
So one of the reasons I moved to West Bloomfield about 10 years ago just happens to be the natural beauty and the landscape that we all share. That is not political, that is natural, that is God's beautiful green and lush creation. I absolutely want to protect and defend the natural beauty that we've been gifted. We need to be better stewards of creation, whether that is the lakes, whether that is our parks. My in-laws happen to live on a nature preserve. I can tell you I'm there like every weekend, just hanging out in the backyard and on the porch. I love it there, okay? So it's absolutely something that we should be better stewards of. I absolutely, once I'm elected to the State House, I look forward to working with both sides of the aisle, with the grassroots, make things even better than where we've left them, and find out for ways to improve them. If there's something that we need to discuss, absolutely, let's get that done. No reason not to, and it's for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. And our very last question on tonight, Mr. Bombay. Do you feel taxes are too high for seniors on fixed incomes? How would you help them?
So if we want to stop, one great way to stop losing population here in Michigan would be to help give an incentive to some of our senior citizens to come here. Whether that's lower taxes on anything, whether that is prescription, medication, fixed income, what have you. We need to open up doors of opportunity to show that, yes, Michigan is open for business, but we also are going to take care of our grandparents, those that came before us. And we want to make it financially advantageous for them to want to be here and stay here at the same time. If you look at states like Florida, hey, guess what? No income taxes. Why do so many people go to Florida and live there? Well, yes, it's naturally beautiful and warm, but yeah, having no income tax, that helps too, I'm just saying. So there's always options there. I would like to be working with creativity across the aisle to find that, because ultimately, no matter which side of the aisle you're on, lower taxes are going to be helping our fixed income residents here in Michigan. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Arbit, do you need the question repeated?
Thanks.
Okay.
I think anyone who's holding up Florida as a model, I immediately have some questions and some concerns. I think the reality is, and I'm going to say something that maybe not everyone in this room is going to like, but I think the reality is, and as a part of, crafting the state budget and, just knowing that people in our community and across the state continue to say that we need to invest more in fixing our damn roads. We need to have better schools in the state of Michigan. Well, the reality is politicians in Michigan have not been forthcoming and forthright with the people of Michigan for decades. The fact is we do not take in enough revenue to fund our public services at the rate that citizens continue to demand. And so I think we should bring this to a ballot of the people. Let's put a graduated income tax on the ballot and say to the people of Michigan, is it worth it to fund services at a higher level, to have better schools, to have, our schools continue to be some of the worst in the nation, and that's despite us in the Democratic majority giving the largest per pupil increase ever. So, I think that we need to have that conversation.
All right, thank you. So that concludes the time for questions for the District 20 representative candidates. The candidates will now be given 1 minute to to make a closing statement in reverse order of opening statements, beginning with Mr. Herman Barbet, followed by Mr. Noah Arbit.
Yes, well, I want to say thank you, everyone, for coming out. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for having us and sponsoring this forum. I am running for elected office to be salt and light in our Michigan State Legislature, to help correct our state's government to create good laws, which will honor and respect the eternal rules of order and right, which heaven itself has ordained, to quote George Washington. I look forward to working with we the people, the grassroots, the mama bears, the papa bears, to find real solutions. I've spent the last 10 years in the financial space, the financial sector, working as a solution consultant. That's ingrained in my persona right now. This is who I am. This is what I do. And I'm stepping down from my lofty world of real estate to serve. I'm not doing this for the money. I am doing it because I know what's right, what needs to be done, and we're going to get it done. My website is herman2024.com. I look forward to meeting you. Thank you all for being here, and please remember to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Arbit?
Thank you. This is a critical election that we have coming up in November. And we have a very stark choice, not only at the federal level with the presidential election, but also in this race between a candidate who is born and raised in this community, who has been faithfully serving our community with faith and fidelity for the past year and a half, and speaking truth to power. And I think, my opponent mentioned that in his opening statement. If you want someone who's going to be a party line vote all the time and not going to think critically and going to, take dinners with the lobbyists and be bought and paid for, then you should not vote for me, because that is not how I've comported myself as your state representative, and that's not how I ever will comport myself as your state representative. I push back. I'm loud. I'm a troublemaker, because that's what this community deserves. This community deserves someone who will always, always work to find innovative common sense solutions and work to have our community's best interests at heart. This is, as I said, the community that raised me, shaped me, and made me who I am. And that's what builds my fire every day to continue working for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.